Spoiler alert, I'm a Gen X, and yes, I am talking to millennials and Zoomers today, but don't say okay boomer, because I'm not one, and my hairdresser will get upset if you say that. But I want to let y'all know what's happening with housing affordability. There's a lot of chatter out there that says nobody's going to be able to buy a house ever again. It's the end of the world. Oh, woe is me, and that's not necessarily the case. Now, it's trickier now than it was when I bought my first house, because when I bought my first house, there were stated income and no doc loans, and those were part of the reason we had a giant recession. So you should be glad that there are better lending standards now, but there's some issues in lending. And let me tell you what the realtors are working on, two of them. One of them is this whole credit scoring issue. The credit bureaus control so much of your life. And for you young people out there, y'all didn't even know how much they controlled until you tried to do something with it. The realtors are pushing for alternative credit scoring, which means if you pay cash for your rental, your landlord can give you a credit score, and that's going to help change the game for a lot of people. The other thing we're watching are these debt to income ratios, the DTI, and the reason the realtors are involved in that is not because you should not have responsibility for your debt, because we should all have our own level of responsibility, but because the DTI moves. Ideally, you're paying off your debt, and maybe you got a tax refund and you knocked out a chunk of your student loans. You want to make sure that ratio updates, because that's going to impact your credit score and thus your ability to get whatever loan you're looking at or your down payment. So that's just one thing we're working on. The second thing that's got to happen if we want to fix the affordability problem is very simple. Supply. There's just not enough houses out there. Now, no matter who you're listening to, you've got bulls and bears on the housing market. You need to ignore all of that, my young friends, because here's the thing. The house itself does have a number, but it's also where you come home at night and you relax and you fix supper, and ladies, you take your bra off, and that's the indicator that the day is over. But that's a real place of sanctuary and comfort. Houses have to be looked at as more than just a financial number. You look at that big purchase price, and of course you have to pay attention to it, but the most important number is the monthly payment. Can you stomach it? Can you still go out to eat? Can you still go on vacation? And most importantly, can you handle any additional inflationary increases on gas and food? If you can handle all those things, then you suck it up, buttercup, and buy the house, and you quit looking at the overall markets. I will tell you, as an old person, the houses that were bought and sold in 2007, a lot of people still live in them. You know why? Because it's home. People bought and sold houses in 2008 when the market was scaling downhill, and it was still home. Same thing in 9, 10, 11. You go back to 20 and 21, 22. A lot of y'all wish you'd gone ahead and bought a house before interest rates moved and prices kept going up. Well, you should know that when you buy the house is just when you buy the house. These are long-term purchases. And I can't stress it enough, they're emotional purchases. And so you figure out the how, and then you start to look at what's out there. You might say, well, there really is nothing out there, Leigh Brown. I feel you. The realtors are working on the supply issue with a couple of really great solutions. And the first one is more approval of accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Now, what is that? That's, say you have a detached garage behind your house, you turn it into an apartment. Shazam, that's now 2 living quarters on the same property. You'll also see tiny houses used for this. You see people converting basements. You heard about the granny flat, a little tiny space. There's all kinds of ways to create more housing solutions, but we have to be willing to say yes, which means if you're the neighbor who wants to go to the city council or county commission meeting and start hollering and NIMBYing, that's not my backyarding, you need to stop. Because if we think about those smaller solutions, not everybody needs a 5,000 square foot McMansion. Some people are delightedly happy in 800 square feet where it's just for them, especially if you think about young single people or even elderly widows that might just be by themselves and not want to have to clean and heat and cool a large space. That creativity matters, and the realtors are looking to legislative solutions on that. We are pushing for approval of them statewide right here in North Carolina, and I got to give a high five to the city of Kannapolis, who has already gone citywide with approval of accessory dwelling units. So when you hear about those housing legislative ideas, don't knee-jerk and get mad, because sometimes it takes political will to get something in place to solve a problem that is real. The other thing that has to happen to fix our housing supplies, we do need more actual rooftops. And here I want to give you a data point. Now, if you're watching in some state besides North Carolina, your number may be different, but just for the sake of argument, it's going to be in the ballpark. With any new build, brand new house, new foundation, walls, roof, the whole kit and caboodle, there's an average of $67,000 in regulatory fees baked into that house. You heard me right. That's permits, that's licenses, that's going through all the hoops to make any town or county happy. Now, you might be thinking, but Leigh Brown, some regulation is good. And I might say yes, that some of it is good, but a lot of it, y'all, is overreach. The tap fees, the permitting, it's crazy what happens. One of the latest expenses we're seeing in many neighborhoods are those community mailboxes. And while that may look nice, everything comes at a cost. And so when you've got that much money baked in to a new build, it's not on the builder and developer that prices are going up. The material costs are up, the labor cost is up. And when the permitting fees are jacking up right there with labor and materials, you cannot sit there and think that the builders and developers are just rolling around in a bathtub full of money like Scrooge McDuck. It's just not real. What you should also know, though, if you want to go talk to your city and county and say, y'all need to say yes more, let me give you a factoid that will help them say yes. Every one of those new builds, when it comes up out of the ground, we just got current data from the National Association of Realtors. It says here in North Carolina, that new build house adds $116,000 to the local economy. That's right, double the cost of the fees, and that all falls into the community on behalf of the home buyer who is now a property owner. There's a lot of benefits there, and if you're thinking about the math, let me just go ahead and tell you, Lowe's Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, and then your landscapers and painters and the whole bit. There's so many people that benefit when a house is built in a community. And the biggest one, of course, is all the rest of us, because we get a new neighbor. We get you moving in, hey friend, and then we find out what you're gonna bring to the table and what your kids bring to the school system, and everything starts to get stronger because we've now added a new experience to the space. So I just want y'all to know there's things that are happening out there. Yes, there are some scary moments, but wherever you live, talk to a locally engaged realtor, because we can tell you that there are things happening, and we can give you some really good advice as to whether to go ahead right now or hold tight for more options. But either way, that's what we're here for. And I'll give you one more little asterisk. There's a video you should watch where I talk about duplexes for first-time buyers. There's a big opportunity if you are thinking about getting into real estate to live in one side of your own duplex and rent the other out. It's a strategy that's been used for generations, and it should totally come back into fashion. And then, by the way, we could maybe get some of our cities and towns to say yes to more duplexes as well. For more information on what the realtors are doing, you should watch more videos. And in the meantime, if you have a question you want to ask, drop it here, and I'll even respond with a video, and I'll try to look less boomer next time.